Hello, subscribers to the JFreedan channel, Martel Brothers Studios channel, and I think the majority of you guys are actually fans of the RPG Fanatic show. So, hello to the RPG Fanatic fans. This is the 7th channel Q&A video. It's been like 3 weeks, it says on YouTube, since I did one, so definitely due for one. A lot of stuff has happened concerning the G-Kaiser project. I'm not going to talk about a lot of that right now since this is obviously a Q&A, but I just want to let you guys know a lot of cool things have been going on, and I'll have more news about that soon. I also want to ask the viewers a question. The RPG Fanatic show, I've been doing this for a year and a month now. Almost a year and a month. There'll be a year and a month on the 7th, I believe, of this month. So in a couple days. And the show is growing, but it's not self-sustaining. And I'm looking for ideas on like what I can do better, basically. What can I do that's going to really get people excited about it? Because I know a lot of you guys are fans, but you're not fans enough to share it with other people. It's very clear from my insight videos that people aren't really sharing it. Almost like 98% of all the views are coming from Google. A lot of it is really not coming from like forum posts and stuff like that. So what more can I do with the videos that will make it awesome enough that you guys will actually want to tell people about the show? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you want to like embed a banner on your own little website or a BB forum post or something in your signature perhaps for a forum, I have a link on the website that is specifically just to make it very easy for people to just take the code and put it into their signature on a forum. I have an BB code and I have an HTML. So you can now add a little RPG Fanatic banner, a very small one, to your signature for forums to also help spread awareness. That link will be in the in the description for the video. Okay, let's respond to some of these questions here. Piano Freak asked me, do you play any of the Shining series games? Yeah, I actually have a couple of them. I've been holding off from trying to do the big series reviews until I have all the games so I can do them all at once. For example, I really want to do a segment on the Lufia games, particularly because I want to review Lufia 2. Well, I don't happen to own Lufia 2 because I ended up selling my copy several years back, and now it's like, you know, $80-something to buy one. So considering that I usually get like about $150 every 2 months from this channel, I can't really spend that much just on one game. I try to purchase multiple games so I can, you know, build the collection up. But that's just an example. I haven't reviewed any Shining series games. I do play some. I will eventually review some Shining series games when I have the whole series, so I can actually go through it all and say, you know, this is the history of the Shining series. This is how it started out. This is how it's evolved over time, and how also delve into some of the spin-offs. I really like to start going into more of those type of videos because I think I could be mistaken, but I think most people enjoy those videos more than just reviews. So, next question. Mr. HP25 says, thanks for replying to my question. I'll send my copy as soon as I am able. In his questions and answers video, you explained that a lot of research going into your projects. Do you think you could elaborate on that? As someone who hopes to be a game designer, I'm trying to learn the proper way to research for use in projects. The research, you should really take a course in composition, like in college. Any decent Comp 1 course should go into like how to research a paper, for example, for MMLA style. But it really comes down to being very knowledgeable about the genre, and that means reading lots and lots of stuff. I've sort of gotten into this in some of my recent videos that I've done, like how to be a good game designer. But it's really, you have to be very knowledgeable about the subject. Well, how do you get knowledgeable about it? Read lots of different opinions. But you also have to be able to determine facts from fiction. Facts are things that are absolutely true. For example, the publishing date, when something, you know, hit the stores, the retail dates, those are facts. because there's records of, in catalogs, these games were coming out. Fiction is basically opinions, things that can't really be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like, I can go into the what is a computer RPG video, and I can say these are the various mechanics that games following the computer RPG genre do not have. That some of them have, but not all of them have. And this is the only mechanic that all of them have, which is the experience and level systems. And these come from D&D, and they didn't, they were original conceptions from the game of Dungeons and Dragons. Actually, I believe that the leveling system evolved out of chainmail. The point is, facts, fiction. Facts you can verify beyond a shadow of a doubt, and the fiction, you can't really verify it. So it's probably not a fact. And until you can verify beyond a shadow of a doubt, you shouldn't really put it in there unless you admit that the history is a little shaky, that it might be a rumor, that it's just a story. But a lot of people don't do that with their videos. They just pass off things that are opinions as facts. And I try not to do that. I hope I haven't made any mistakes. I try very hard not to. Frosty Nuts asked me, "Do you think you will still be? Okay, I'm sorry. Do you think you will still be doing filmmaking 5 to 6 years from now? If so, after I get out of law school and hopefully the job market is better, I wouldn't mind funding some of your projects. I'm not a big fan of anime. I do watch some, but I definitely think you're a good guy and deserve a chance to throw your ideas out there. Thank you so much for your support. I will definitely still be doing filmmaking, probably for the rest of my life. I have big plans on various film-related things I like to do. I have scripts for films that I cannot yet, financially do, and the technical level is also beyond my skill set at this particular moment in time. But I'm very much planning in the future what I want to do, so I will definitely still be making games in the future, making videos in the future. Naruko19 asked me, I love when people don't understand that Pokemon is just a kid's game. I love to see a kid play it competitively. And we sort of had a discussion about, I never said that Pokemon was just for kids. It is targeted at children. This is kind of not really disputable. That's the target audience for the game. That doesn't mean that the game cannot have depth to it. The best games are easy to learn, but difficult to master. And I believe that Pokemon is using that sort of model. There's a lot of. I realize that there's lots of depth to the game mechanics. Retro Man Presents says, "Hi, do you prefer anime on VHS or DVD?" VHS or DVD? I probably prefer it on DVD simply because I can listen to the alternate Japanese track if I prefer it over the dub. A lot of the times the dubs, for a lot of people the voices bother them. That's not really my concern most of the time. What bothers me is the edits. There's a lot of DVDs with English track that are basically just the television version that they made for like Cartoon Network or something. So they've removed all the guns from Gundam Ween or something. And the Japanese tracks don't have any of that stuff. It's a purely uncensored version. And I much prefer to watch, I prefer to watch a film the way it was originally conceived by its creators, not the edited version to abide by the ridiculous standards of American television censors. Your next question is, you own any RPGs that got a PAL release and not a US release? Terranigma, for example. PAL games. I don't think I do. I don't even have a PAL Super NES, which I would definitely need in order to play some of those games. I do have a PAL converter, but I do have a converter for a European to plug it into AC, but I don't have any PAL games. I will eventually get around to doing that because I want to do an expose on the Soul Blazer series, and it's possible to do that if you don't have Terranigma, the last game. I guess it's the last true game in the Soul Blazer series. There was another whose name escapes me for the moment that was still made by the same creator, same designer team, but it's more of a spiritual successor, kind of like the Xenosaga is a spiritual successor to Xenogears, because it's the same people involved in Xenogears making this game that's very similar to it, but not exactly the same. The point is I don't have any. Your next question is, what's your favorite plushie? I don't have toy... I have stuffed animals. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I just don't have any. When I was a child, I had a favorite stuffed toy. It was a rabbit. Embarrassing secret there. I don't know where that rabbit is at the moment. It's probably in a box somewhere. How sharp is my sword? Very sharp, I hope. Next question. Cell J75 asks, what do you think of the Tales series and Namco's lack of localizations? Not happy about it. Namco has been localizing a lot more games than they have in the past, at least when I was growing up. And putting, for example, the correct names on them, rather than like Tales of Destiny 2 for a game that was still in the Tales series, but was not a sequel to Tales of Destiny 2. We never actually got the true Tales of Destiny sequel. So I'm happier that they are doing that. I enjoy the Tales series, so that's as much as I can say about it. It's not like I don't prefer it over, for example, I rank the Dragon Quest and the Final Fantasy series probably a little bit higher, but I definitely enjoy the Tales games, and they definitely have their special breed of gameplay concerning the real-time sort of system that they use. The last question from you is, what is my favorite RPG series? And I'm going to save that for my 10 favorite RPG series list. I should. Well, then I will save it for my favorite RPG series list. Should I do top 10s? Let me know if you guys want to see me do top 10s or not. I haven't been doing top 10s because I think it's, I don't know. It's just, I've never really watched top 10s because a lot of people who do top 10s, they don't really explain why is this a top 10. How is this determined? It's just random, arbitrary choice of numbers. The same reason I don't do rating systems, It's just an arbitrary number that you've assigned to something based on how you feel about it, and not necessarily based on a logical explanation of it. And I'm more of a logical person, so I don't really do the things. But if you guys want me to make top 10 lists, I guess I can try to figure out some sort of scaling system. Probably, again, arbitrary. I can try to do that. Edward Elric 555 says, oh, almost forgot. Oh, you have a different question first. Your first question is, do you think the Western gaming media and small groups of certain developers have become very smug about their output in comparison to the Japanese gaming industry? Yeah, I definitely do. For example, I was big on BioWare's Daniel Erickson and his nonsense that he said. But again, they're supposed to be marketing their stuff. I just don't think that the amount of effort that goes into making these games, that they should just be that smug about them, especially when they're criticizing games that are actually really good. I mean, if you want to criticize games as being, not really true RPGs and stuff, or saying they don't have very good stories, or they're just boring gameplay, you should try playing games like The Legend of Alendar, okay? Play that shit, and then tell me that anything that Square has ever made, with maybe the exception of Unlimited Saga, is on that level. You also say, can I give suggestions for websites or books for learning about Japanese storytelling? Anything concerning Japanese theater will give you a lot of insight about that. It's hard to get really accurate information unless you can directly read Japanese. Myself, I'm not quite at that level that I can fully do it. So I have to rely heavily on English sources. And it's the same problem you get with martial art books, where there's an interpretation of something in a different language, and sometimes they don't get it right. A lot of Zen books are that way. They completely misinterpret things, and you have to read so many different books to really get a rounded idea that a lot of the translators aren't translating these things correctly. I read various translations of them, basically, so you can actually try to understand what the actual truth is that was intended. So I would definitely encourage you to just read as many books as you can about the topic. I can't give you any off the top of my head right now. I don't remember a lot of them. I've been studying this for so long that I just pull some of these things out of my head. The other question you had for me was, what do I think of the Dynasty Warriors series? It's alright. Not really my thing. I am going to review a Dynasty Warriors game, which is more of a spin-off, but I will eventually get around to doing that and talk about my feelings in the Dynasty Warriors series. I don't think they're bad. I think they're interesting. Shintai123 has the last series of questions. I feel your pain on the girlfriend thing. I had one that cosplays an anime character once, and I never bring myself to watch that show. Yeah, thank you for relating. Your questions are, how do you feel about collaborative videos of other YouTubers, reviews, discussion panels, etc.? I'd like to do it. I have tried to reach out to some of them, but I don't get responses back. So, I don't get responses back. And that's where that goes. I have been encouraged to do like panels and stuff at cons, but I don't really know like what would I say that would be really fantastically interesting at a panel about like computer RPGs. I mean, I put up the what is a computer RPG video on Big Bomb's forums, and immediately I get started flaming that people are saying like you're just YouTube spamming, and they're saying like I know what a computer RPG is because I've been playing these games all my life. I was like, well. Lots of people have been playing these games all their lives, but they don't really look deeper behind it. They're still stuck at the narrative, and they can't get past the narrative elements of the game to really see what the mechanics are. Which is why you end up with sites like Game FAQs that list Tower of Duriga and Castle Quest for the NES as being computer RPGs, and they're not, because they don't have experience points or level systems, and they're basically they're item grab games. Which basically descend from Pac-Man. So, how do I feel about doing a panel when I have that sort of environment where I'm basically trying to tell people that what they've been thinking all these years is wrong, and this is how they ought to think about it? I guess I could do a panel on it, but I don't really know what to expect from it. Is it really worth my time? Maybe I should just make these videos out there, and gradually people will be exposed to this information, be able to think about it, because I know a lot of people's reaction when they first say it is like, no, that can't be it, and then they think about it more, and it's like, oh, wait a second, maybe it really is this way. Maybe I should re-examine it. I'm trying to make videos that are thought-provoking like that are interesting, that people will go away from it, and maybe they'll think a little bit more about it and say, hey, maybe this guy is right about what he's saying, because he has put so much thought into the subject about these little silly games. Your second question, how do I feel about emulation? There are good and bad parts of emulation. I'll rely on emulation myself to play, for example, my Game Genie don't work. So if I want to use Game Genie, I need to either buy another one that actually works, and good luck with that, and or use an emulator. And you're legally allowed to do that. You can have a backup copy of a game that you own. So, but people that are like download lots of emulated games and you don't really own it. I did that when I was younger, like a teenager, when the emulation scene first started out. So I was exposed to lots and lots of different games. But the same token, when I was doing it then, you couldn't get some of these games for the Wii like you can now, or get them on Steam or something. So there is some lost revenue, I think, to the developers, the publishers at least, because of emulation. So I say emulation is okay if you own the game already, but if you don't, you probably shouldn't do it. Your third question, I mentioned that you wanted to get a PlayStation 3 because of computer RPGs. What games people are interested in? Recommend Demon's Souls very highly. Guess a lot of people want me to play Demon's Souls. A lot of them are really various Japanese computer RPGs that have come out. The majority of the American ones are actually for the Xbox 360, so I really need both of them. I'm probably going to end up getting an Xbox 360 before I get a PlayStation 3. If only so that I can do some of the indie arcade games that are coming out. And so that I can also do some of the ones like Fallout and a lot of BioWare stuff. I need to get around to Dragon Age Origins and I'm sure that they have some other upcoming ones that will be out by then. But you know, it might even be that by the time I can afford a new gen system, there'll be something else out that's for like $600. But on the other hand, the PlayStation 3 has a Blu-ray player, and I don't have a Blu-ray player. I'll go with because the site really. I've been trying to do lots of. I've been trying to do an equal number at least of American-produced computer RPGs, and I have a lot of them myself. You can look on my website, my video game wish list. I'll put a link to it back in here. I own a lot of them. Why haven't I reviewed some of them? Some of them are bad, really, really bad. And while they're bad, they're not necessarily funny bad. They're just boring, and it makes me wonder why they were even made. Because I don't think the developers could have even thought they were good. So what I'll probably end up doing is I'll combine them all into one review and say like, this is what makes a bad computer RPG, and I'll review all these god-awful games. And it won't just be American ones, because there's a lot of Japanese ones that are also just as bad. A good example is Eternalize. Eternalize, PlayStation 1 strategy game. And it's not necessarily bad in that it's like glitchy, or it's just, it's bad in that it's boring. The gameplay is not that interesting. It has some interesting, I think it had potential, but it went wrong in having a boring story and boring combat. Really boring combat. I mean, I have to force myself to stay awake. It's so goddamn boring. And there's a lot of computer RPGs like that made by Japanese and Americans. And I'll try to do a video that just combines them all together. So, this is the Q&A session. Hopefully, you guys have gotten something out of it. If you want to ask more questions, put them in the box below. Thank you.